Pop quiz, hotshot. Guess who's back?
I'm thinking I'm back.
Ah yes, the Wick cinematic universe will soon expand with Chapter 4, and it goes without saying, we can't wait to see more of that legendary action and stunt work. And we'll once again be seeing some of the best pistol hardware ever put on the silver screen. Now, we know those guns absolutely shred in Keanu's universe, but how do they work in our day-to-day universe? Well, we happen to run some of this exact same hardware ourselves, thanks to the shooters and smiths at Terran Tactical Innovations, aka TTI. And much like the Wick movies themselves, TTI took these guns as a proven and known base, and then streamlined them to edge out the most performance possible while also keeping them functional and reliable. So, knowing this, we're going to take a closer look at these 3 TTI branded John Wick pistols and give you our experience with them in the real world. So, let's go. You know, it makes sense that one of the first TTI pistols that you see is the Glock 34 Combat Master. And you first see it when John picks up the Gen 3 version from Chapter 2 when he pays a visit to Q's lab. Sorry, the sommelier. So with its long 5.3 inch bronze iron bonded barrel, it's got a ton of sight radius for those that shoot iron sights. However, since our version is the TTI Gen 5, we took advantage of the MOS feature to mount a Trijicon SRO red dot. Now, we looked at the SRO in an earlier video, I'll link to it if you haven't already seen it, and found it one of the best red dots you can get thanks to its large window size and its bright clear 2.5 MOA dot. And since we're talking about that slide, you can see these stylish TTI cuts that not only give the Glock a more polished look, but they're also functional for manipulations as well. You'll also notice that distinctive butler cut on the lower slide that gives the gun its unique angled appearance. And right next to it, you'll see the stock tactical rail, which you can use to mount any lights and lasers that you want, just like we did with the Surefire X300 for all your low light working needs. As to the grip, you'll see several trademark TTI changes. The trigger guard is undercut, so your middle finger is going to ride a little bit higher for comfort and recoil control. And speaking of comfort, the grip is reduced in size and wrapped in silicon carbide on both sides and on the trigger guard and on the frame. So this makes it a lot easier to lock in a really strong grip with this pistol. And coming out of that grip, you'll be dropping free those bomb-proof Glock mags, topped off with what's largely become the industry standard, the TTI base pads in your choice of +3 to +6. So if you want, you can end up toting around 41 rounds on your belt. By the way, the G34 does come with its competition magwell, but on ours we chose to run the stock magwell to compete in carry optics division. We also didn't have any issues hitting our reloads anyways. Speaking of hitting, the Combat Master does come with a competition trigger job, so even compared to the stock 4.5 pound trigger, this 3.5 pound trigger helps out a lot, whether you're shooting for distance or hosing fast up close. Only caveats we offer for this model are that if you choose to run an extended slide release and you grip high for recoil control, you can end up riding that slide release so it won't lock back on the last round. And lastly, this is a light gun even with the red dot on it. So on the one hand, it's easy and comfortable to carry, but on the other hand, it's not going to absorb as much recoil as a heavier steel frame gun. Speaking of which, starting with Chapter 3, the 2011 makes its first appearance during the hotel shootout when it's handed to him by Lance Reddick's character. So, if you had an army of assassins paying you a visit, you're probably going to want something high capacity, fast cycling, and easy to shoot. Starting with its long 5.4 inch match grade sight block barrel. The cool thing you'll notice by that sight block is if you cycle the slide, the front sight stays put, so there's very little sight disruption. This also means that with those additional cuts along the slide, you'll get a lot less reciprocating mass, faster cycle speeds, and most importantly, less felt recoil. I'll tell you what, it makes a difference. As far as sighting systems, we're running irons here with an adjustable rear and TTI fiber optic front. You'll also notice that the TTI fiber optic front on the front sight is raised almost all the way to the top. In appearance, it'll look like it's floating there in your sight picture. Now that is a really nice added touch. And since we're talking about this slide, you'll also notice these very nice trademark TTI cuts along the entire length of the slide. You'll also notice the same trademark angled butler cut on the bottom frame next to the tactical rail for your lights and lasers. And for this 2011 grip module, it comes with TTI's Grandmaster grip job. So you'll also find some additional stippling underneath the trigger guard for some more added traction. Now, one underestimated component of the grip is where the back of the grip meets the magwell. Since this magwell doesn't jut out like most, you'll be able to get full purchase with your palm against the back strap. Now that included magwell absolutely does help considering how small the factory 2011 magwell can be, and these mags drop free and smooth thanks to this Dawson extended mag release. Last but not least, let's talk about that sweet 2011 trigger. If you're wanting to hit something with the absolute minimum amount of effort required, you're gonna really like this 2-pound TTI trigger job. And the reset is barely even noticeable. Slow or fast, this is the best 2011 trigger out there, no question. As far as reliability, 1911s and 2011s have a reputation for being finicky, largely due to its much tighter tolerances. Having said that, this Combat Master has seen over 5,000 rounds with little trouble. In fact, Lyn won the 2-gun national shooting this very gun, so it can hold up when performance is on the line. As mentioned earlier, this gun is a chunk to carry around, so that's not its primary goal. In home defense or hotel defense, this is one of the best shootable guns you can get. So, in the end, it does not get much better than this. Although, so if going from a Glock to 2011 is like going from a BMW 3 Series to a Ferrari, the Combat Master Alpha would be the Ferrari 812 GTS version. Basically, you're taking the Stallion from John Wick 3 and bolting on the latest and greatest to make the softest shooting and fastest tracking 2011 out there. The biggest changes are all up top, starting with the barrel on the slide. You still get a 5-inch bull barrel, but instead of the sight block, you get this 2-port compensator in its place. So you'll still get the same advantage of the sight block in that since it's separated from the moving slide, you'll get less reciprocating mass, faster cycle speed, and lower felt recoil. If the John Wick 3 version was an 8 on recoil absorption and follow-up shots, this added compensator makes it an 11. The second biggest change is the sighting system. Instead of irons, we're back to using a red dot sight, and like the earlier Glock, we went with the Trijicon SRO. The mounting system is slightly different though, whereas earlier we used the MOS plate, this SRO is directly mounted to the slide. Not only is this sturdier, but it also sits a little bit lower and closer to the slide than the Glock 34. The Alpha is delivered in this configuration, so if you want to use a different footprint other than RMR, just look for an adapter plate instead. While we're talking optics, you'll also notice the frame is drilled and tapped for frame mounted optics like the Seymour or Sig Romeo 3 Max. One other slight change on this Alpha is the grip. On the John Wick 3 version, we had the TTI stippled grip job, but on this one, we chose to go a little bit more aggressive with a silicon carbide grip. TTI offers both versions, and from our experience with carbide, I think it's definitely the better choice if you want a grip with some bite. As to the rest of the gun, everything remains the same from the John Wick 3 version, including the large mag well that helps with slick reloads, to the oversized safety, slide, and mag release that help speed manipulations, and last but not least, that sweet TTI trigger for all your long distance and shredding needs. So even with the additions to the compensator and SRO red dot, the Alpha is only slightly heavier than the John Wick 3 version. However, since it's a bit longer and the compensator is loud as hell, you really won't find many folks running this gun outside of competition. It's a blast to run, and like the Ferrari 812 GTS, it belongs on a racetrack to see how fast it can really go. Well, we're all caught up now with John Wick's latest hardware, and if you want to see us do another video once Chapter 4 hits theaters, let us know in the comments. We'll talk to our sources and try to get our hands on those, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.